Dante believed the woman trembling in his passenger seat was only a poor waitress caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then his uncle saw her necklace, drew a gun, and shouted the one sentence that turned Dante against his entire family: she was never supposed to survive. Less than 2 hours earlier, Elena Brooks had been stacking coffee cups behind the counter of the Harbor Light Diner while rain hammered the windows hard enough to blur the highway beyond them. The last customer had left. The cook had gone home, and Elena was alone, except for the old radio whispering through static near the pie case. At 46, she had learned not to expect miracles from stormy nights. She expected leaking ceilings, stalled cars, and men who forgot to tip. She did not expect a stranger to stumble out of the alley with one hand pressed to his side. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a black coat that had probably cost more than Elena earned in 3 months. Dark hair clung to his forehead. Rain ran over the hard lines of his face and down the short beard along his jaw. He made it 3 steps toward the kitchen door before his knees gave way. Elena dropped the towel in her hand and rushed outside. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes opened at once. They were sharp, dark, and far too alert for a man losing blood. His hand closed around her wrist before she could touch his wound. "Go back inside," he said. "Lock the door. You're hurt. That is why you need to go." Headlights swept across the alley mouth. The stranger pulled Elena down behind a stack of delivery crates just as a black sedan rolled slowly past. Its windows were tinted. The car did not stop, but Elena felt the stranger's grip tighten until the taillights disappeared into the rain. "Who are they?" she whispered. "Men who will kill you because you saw me." Elena stared at him. That is not comforting. It was not meant to be. He tried to stand and nearly fell again. Elena slid an arm around his waist. He was heavier than he looked, all muscle and stubborn resistance. "Inside," she ordered. "You can threaten me after I stop you from bleeding on my shoes." Something changed in his expression. A flash of surprise, followed by the faintest hint of respect. He let her guide him through the kitchen and into the small storage room beside the office. Elena knew the difference between panic and useful action. She cut open the stranger's shirt, cleaned the shallow bullet graze along his ribs, and wrapped it with a fresh kitchen towel and an elastic bandage from the first aid kit. He watched her the entire time. "You have done this before," he said. "Not exactly this. You did not scream. Neither did you. I have had practice." That is also not comforting. The radio in the dining room went silent when the power flickered. A moment later, Elena heard a car door slam outside. The stranger stood despite the pain and removed a compact pistol from beneath his coat. "Elena froze. I don't allow weapons in my diner. Tonight, make an exception. Put it away. They are already here." The back door rattled once. Then again. Elena grabbed the stranger's sleeve and pulled him toward the pantry. Behind a shelving unit was an old service hatch that opened into the adjoining laundromat, a leftover from when both businesses had shared a boiler room. "Through there," she whispered. "Where does it lead?" "Somewhere. They won't look first." He studied her face. Perhaps searching for fear. Perhaps wondering why a waitress with tired eyes and flour on her blouse was helping a man who carried a gun. Elena did not know the answer herself. She only knew that leaving him on the floor would have felt like becoming the kind of person she had spent her life trying not to be. They crawled through the hatch as the diner's rear lock broke. The laundromat was dark and empty. Elena led him between silent machines to the side exit, where the storm swallowed them. His car waited 2 blocks away under an overpass. A dark, armored sedan with a cracked rear window. You cannot drive, Elena said. I can. You can barely breathe. He handed her the keys. Then you drive. We're my home. Elena laughed once. Not because anything was funny, but because the alternative was screaming. I have known you for 12 minutes. Dante Moretti. He opened the passenger door. Now you know my name. The name struck her a second late. Moretti. Newspapers called the family investors, builders, and donors. Men at the diner used other words when they thought women were not listening. Elena looked at the gun, the blood on his shirt, and the road behind them. Of course, she muttered. The one night I stay late. He rescue a Mafia boss. You rescued a man. Are those different people? Not often. The sedan from the alley appeared at the far end of the block. Dante's voice hardened. Get in. Elena. She had never told him her name. He glanced toward the stitched patch above her blouse pocket. Your uniform. Right. She climbed behind the wheel. Dante gave directions toward the hills outside the city, while the pursuing car remained 2 turns behind. Elena drove through sheets of rain, hands tight on the wheel. Dante made one call using a phone he removed from a hidden compartment. Northgate, he said. 2 vehicles behind us. Do not open fire unless they cross the outer line. He ended the call and looked at Elena. When we reach the estate, stay close to me. I was planning to go home. The road back to town is flooded. Then I'll wait somewhere else. The men following us saw your face. Elena's stomach tightened. Dante lowered his voice. I will keep you safe until I know who sent them. And after that, I take you home. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to turn the car around and return to the small apartment above the florist shop where her cat, Lucy, would be waiting beside an empty bowl. But headlights closed in behind them, and Dante's hand moved toward his weapon. Elena pressed the accelerator. Iron gates appeared through the rain. They opened just wide enough for the car to pass, then slammed shut before the pursuing sedan reached them. Men in dark coats surrounded the vehicle beneath the stone portico of a mansion that looked less like a home than a fortress built by someone who had stopped trusting the world. Dante stepped out first. Elena followed slowly, aware of her soaked uniform, her sensible shoes, and every curious eye fixed on her. She had just reached the top step when a silver chain slipped from beneath her blouse. The oval locket hanging from it caught the light. An older man standing in the entrance went white. He was handsome in a polished, cold way, with gray at his temples and a black suit untouched by the storm. His gaze locked on the locket. Where did you get that? He demanded. Elena instinctively closed her hand around it. It belonged to my mother. The man drew a gun. Dante moved between them, but the man's voice tore through the hall before anyone could stop him. She was never supposed to survive. The words seemed to empty the mansion of sound. Dante did not turn toward Elena. He kept his body between her and the pistol. One hand raised slightly as 3 of his security men aimed at the older man. Lower it. Uncle Victor, Dante said. His voice was quiet, which made it more dangerous. You do not point a weapon at a guest in my house. Victor Moretti's face tightened. She is not a guest. Look at the locket. I have seen it. Then you know what it means. I know you just admitted you expected her to be dead. Elena's fingers went cold around the silver oval. The locket had been with her for as long as she could remember. Her Aunt Margaret had said it was the only thing found with Elena after her mother disappeared. Inside was a faded photograph of a young woman with Elena's dark eyes and gentle smile. On the back, almost worn smooth, was the image of an olive branch wrapped around a small crown. Elena had never believed it meant anything beyond a family decoration. Now every person in the marble hall stared at it as though she had carried a bomb through the door. A woman in a burgundy silk dress descended the staircase. She was perhaps 60, elegant and pale, with the same dark eyes as Dante. "Victor," she said sharply, "put the gun down. Sofia, stay out of this. You are threatening an unarmed woman in my son's home." So she was Dante's mother. Elena saw the resemblance in the set of her mouth. Though Sofia's expression held open alarm rather than controlled anger, at the top of the staircase, another figure appeared. Smaller and bent with age, an elderly woman leaned heavily on a cane as she came forward. The room shifted around her. Men lowered their eyes. Even Victor's weapon dipped. "Bring her closer," the old woman said. Dante looked over his shoulder at Elena. "Nonna, this is not the time. It is 28 years past the time." Her voice was thin but absolute. She pointed the cane at Victor. "And if my younger son does not lower that pistol, shoot him in the leg." Victor's jaw clenched, but he slowly returned the weapon to his holster. Dante held out his hand to Elena. "You do not have to do anything you do not want to do." She looked at the doors behind her, then at the armed men beyond them. Running into the storm would not erase what she had heard. She placed her hand in his. His palm was warm despite the rain. He guided her across the hall. The old woman's eyes filled as Elena approached. "Open it," she said. Elena pressed the tiny catch. The locket opened to reveal her mother's picture. The elderly woman lifted a trembling hand but did not touch it. "Maria," she whispered. Victor turned away. Sofia gripped the banister. Dante stared at the photograph, as though the face belonged to a ghost from his own childhood. "You knew my mother?" Elena asked. The old woman looked up. "My name is Rosa Moretti. Maria Vale was once the bravest person in this family." Vale, Elena repeated. "My aunt told me my mother's name was Elena Brooks. Your aunt lied to protect you." The statement should have made Elena angry. But Rosa's grief was too old and too visible to dismiss. "Protect me from whom?" Elena asked. Rosa's eyes moved toward Victor. "From us." Dante's grip tightened around Elena's hand. He spoke to the nearest guard. "Seal the estate. Collect every phone. No one leaves." Victor gave a bitter laugh. "You think I brought the attack to your door. I think a wounded man was followed from a private meeting known only to family. And you recognized a necklace that supposedly vanished with a dead woman. I am done assuming coincidences are harmless." "Dante, you are injured," Sofia said. "I am still in command." He turned to Elena. "You need dry clothes, and a doctor should examine you." "I'm not hurt." "You are shaking." "A man pointed a gun at me and announced that I should be dead. Which is why you will not be alone." Elena pulled her hand free. "I am not one of your employees. You do not get to issue orders and expect me to obey." For the first time since the portico, the edge in Dante's face softened. "You are right." He took a breath, visibly recalibrating. "Please stay until we understand the danger. My mother can remain with you. No one will enter without your permission." Elena glanced at Sofia, who nodded. "There is a sitting room in my suite." Sofia said, "You may lock the door from inside." "And my cat?" Elena asked, hating how small the concern sounded amid guns and buried secrets. "Lucy has not been fed. Dante looked toward a young man near the security desk. Luca. Send 2 people to Elena's address. Bring the cat, her food, and anything else she may need. The young man, who resembled Dante but wore his emotions more openly, nodded. I'll go myself. No, Dante said. You stay. Use Matteo and Grace. Elena frowned. How do you know my address? The diner's business records are public. Dante replied. And we passed the florist shop when you told me which road was flooded. You noticed too much. It has kept me alive. Tonight I did that. His gaze met hers. Yes, you did. Rosa struck her cane once against the floor. Questions belong in the blue salon. The truth belongs there too. Victor stepped forward. Mother, you are tired. I have been tired since the night your brother allowed an innocent woman to be condemned. Alessandro is dead. Let him rest. The dead have rested comfortably while the living paid their debts. She looked at Elena. Come with me. Child, you deserve to know why the Moretti name stole your mother. They moved into a salon lined with blue silk walls and dark portraits. Dante refused medical attention until Elena was seated near the fire with a blanket around her shoulders. A discreet physician named Doctor. Hale cleaned and closed the graze along Dante's ribs, while Rosa watched from an armchair. Victor remained across the room under the eyes of 2 guards. Sophia poured tea with unsteady hands. Luca stood near the windows, checking security reports. Elena noticed the family's strange order, even in crisis. Rosa ruled by history. Dante ruled by decision. Sophia held them together. Victor challenged every boundary. Luca watched and learned. Tell here, Dante said when the doctor finished. Rosa rested both hands on her cane. 29 years ago, Maria Vale came to this house as an accountant. She was not born into our world. She was hired because she could find mistakes other people missed. And because your grandfather believed loyalty could be measured in numbers, Maria discovered that money was being taken from construction funds and moved through charities. At first, everyone suspected an outside partner. Then she found signatures belonging to someone in this family. Elena looked at Victor. His expression revealed nothing. Rosa continued. Maria became close to my eldest son, Alessandro Dante's father. Close enough that she trusted him. Close enough that some believed they would marry if he had not already been promised to Sophia for an alliance between families. Sophia's cup paused halfway to the tray. Elena turned to her. But Sophia did not look offended. She looked sad. My marriage to Alessandro was arranged long before either of us understood what love required. She said, Maria was his friend. Perhaps more for a time, but that is not the secret everyone feared. Rosa nodded. Maria learned the stolen money was paying a private network of men. She believed someone was building power inside the family, preparing to remove Alessandro and take control when your grandfather died. Before she could present everything, a warehouse burned. 2 employees died. Evidence was planted in Maria's apartment. Alessandro signed an order naming her a traitor. Elena's hand closed around the locket. What kind of order? No one answered quickly enough. Elena's voice sharpened. What did he order? Dante spoke. Her execution. The fire cracked behind them. Elena felt as if the room had tilted. Yet her voice came out clear. Your father ordered my mother killed. Yes. Dante did not hide from the word. According to everything I was told, the order was carried out. Rosa looked toward the portrait above the mantel. A younger Alessandro, standing beside Sophia. It was not. The man assigned to find Maria was my cousin Gabriel. He discovered she was pregnant and doubted the evidence against her. He helped her escape. Only 4 people knew Gabriel. Maria, me, and the woman who later raised you, Aunt Margaret. She had worked in our kitchens before moving away. Gabriel brought Maria to her. Elena opened the locket again. Then why did my aunt tell me she died in a car accident? Rosa's eyes filled with regret. Because 6 months after your birth, Maria disappeared. Gabriel was found dead near the river. Margaret received a photograph of you sleeping in your crib with a warning written across it. She changed your name, moved twice, and never contacted us again. Elena looked at Victor. And you knew I existed. He crossed one leg over the other, measured and calm now that the gun was gone. I knew Maria had delivered a child. I was told the infant died during the winter, by whom Dante asked. Gabriel. Gabriel was already dead when the message reached the family. Rosa said. Victor's eyes narrowed. Memory becomes unreliable at your age. Cowardice becomes polished at yours. Dante raised a hand before the argument could grow. The locket. Why did you react to it? Victor's gaze returned to the silver oval. Because Maria used that crest on her private ledgers. If the woman is truly her daughter, the attack tonight may have nothing to do with you. Elena's skin prickled. You think they were looking for me, I think. Victor said. That bringing you here may have completed a search that began before Dante was old enough to understand the word betrayal. Elena wanted to reject the entire story. She wanted to say Rosa was confused. Victor was cruel. And Dante's family had mistaken an ordinary piece of jewelry for proof of a conspiracy. But when she examined the locket under the salon lamp, she noticed something she had never seen before. The olive branch around the crown was not carved as one piece. One silver leaf sat slightly higher than the others. She pressed it with her thumbnail. A narrow panel sprang open along the locket's edge, revealing a strip of yellowed paper rolled around a sliver of brass. Everyone in the room went still. I wore this every day. Elena said. How did I never find that? Rosa held out a hand. May I? Elena hesitated, then gave her the locket. Rosa removed the tiny roll with care. The paper contained 6 groups of numbers and the words, Saint Agnes. Midnight. Beneath the angel. The brass sliver was not decorative. It had 2 delicate teeth at one end, like a miniature key. Victor rose too quickly. Dante's men blocked him before he took a second step. Sit down, Dante said. That note could refer to anything. Victor replied, Then you should have no reason to fear it. I fear what your imagination will do with a dead woman's nonsense. Elena stood. The blanket fell from her shoulders. Do not call my mother's final message nonsense. Victor looked at her as though noticing her strength for the first time. Elena had spent much of her life being underestimated because of her soft figure, warm voice, and waitress uniform. Customers confused patience with weakness. Managers mistook kindness for obedience. Victor made the same error, and she saw the moment he realized it. St. Agnes was a church on Mercer Street. Sophia said. Alessandro took us there as children. Luca looked up from his phone. It closed 12 years ago. The property belongs to a private foundation. Which foundation? Dante asked. Luca's face changed. The Moretti Heritage Trust. Victor gave a dismissive shrug. The family owns half the old buildings in this city, and you have chaired that trust for 18 years. Dante said, because no one else wanted the work. Dante ordered Luca to pull the property records and security history. Victor protested that the church would be unstable after years of neglect. But Rosa insisted the answer had waited long enough. Dante refused to leave immediately. The storm had washed out 2 roads. His attackers remained unidentified, and someone inside the estate had disabled a camera near the north wall moments before his arrival. They would go at dawn with a small team. Until then, the locket and note would remain in a safe only Dante could open. Elena disliked surrendering the last object that belonged to her mother, but she understood the danger. She watched Dante seal it in a leather pouch and place it in a concealed wall compartment behind a bookcase. "You have a safe in the salon?" she asked. "There are 7 safes on this floor. That is either impressive or deeply unhealthy." Luca laughed before catching Victor's glare. Dante almost smiled. Both can be true. Sophia led Elena upstairs and gave her a guest suite overlooking the garden. Dry clothes waited in the wardrobe. Simple trousers and a soft cream sweater in a size that fit. Elena did not ask how the household had produced them so quickly. She showered until the water ran clear and the trembling in her hands eased. When she looked in the mirror, she saw the same round face, dark hair, and tired eyes she had known that morning. Yet every fact beneath them had shifted. Her name might not be hers. Her mother had not died in an accident. A powerful family had hunted her before she could walk. There was a knock at the outer door. Sophia entered only after Elena invited her. She carried a tray with soup, bread, and tea. "You have not eaten since before the diner closed," she said. "Neither has your son. Dante forgets hunger when he is angry. He seems angry often, less often than his father." Sophia set the tray down. "I owe you honesty. Alessandro did sign that order. He believed Maria had caused the warehouse deaths and stolen from the family. He learned the truth too late." Elena started at her. He knew she was innocent, not everything, but enough to understand he had been manipulated. For years, he searched quietly for proof she survived. He never found her. The guilt changed him. Did it make him apologize? No. Sophia's answer was immediate. Powerful men often confuse regret with atonement. Alessandro regretted what he did. I do not know if he ever became brave enough to atone for it. Elena appreciated the distinction. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Dante worshipped his father when he was young." Lotte. He saw his cruelty and tried to become different. Tonight he will feel responsible for a decision made before he was a man. Do not let his guilt pressure you into trusting him. Judge him by what he does now. You are warning me about your own son. I am asking you to see him clearly. Sophia's gaze moved toward the rain-streaked window. He has spent 10 years keeping this family from destroying itself. Sometimes that makes him controlling. Sometimes it makes him lonely. Elena sat at the small table. I am not looking for a lonely mafia boss to repair. Good. He does not need repair. He needs someone who refuses to be impressed by him. Sophia smiled faintly and left. Elena ate half the soup before exhaustion settled over her. She had just closed her eyes when scratching sounded at the door. Then came a familiar, indignant yowl. Elena hurried across the room. Luca stood outside holding a grey cat at arm's length, while Lucy twisted like an offended cloud. A canvas bag hung from his shoulder. "Your cat hates me," he announced. "She has excellent instincts." Lucy launched herself into Elena's arms, pressed her face beneath Elena's chin, and immediately began purring. Luca looked relieved. Grace-packed clothing, toiletries, and a framed photograph from your nightstand. She said nothing, appeared disturbed. But there was a car parked across the street without plates. Our people stayed to watch the building. He handed her the bag. Dante asked me to tell you that. Why didn't he come himself? He is questioning the men who were on gate duty. Questioning Luca raised both hands. Verbally. Mostly. Elena gave him a look. Entirely verbally. We are trying to modernize. He turned to go. Then paused. My uncle has frightened people my whole life. I have never seen him frightened until he saw your necklace. Do you believe Rosa's story? I believe my family survives by hiding the ugliest truth under the most expensive rug. The answer was too sincere to be rehearsed. Be careful tomorrow. He added, Dante will protect you. But Victor taught him almost everything he knows. After Luca left, Elena unpacked the bag. The framed photograph showed her and Aunt Margaret on a beach 5 years before Margaret died. Elena touched the glass. You could have told me, she whispered, in memory. Margaret's tired face answered with the words she had used whenever Elena asked about the past. Some truths are doors. Honey, once opened, they never close. Elena had always thought it was grief speaking. Now she wondered whether it had been fear. Near midnight, Lucy lifted her head and stared toward the sitting room. Elena heard the faint click of a handle. The outer door was locked. Someone tested it again. Elena reached for the heavy brass lamp beside the bed and moved silently toward the wall. A shadow passed beneath the door. The lock turned from outside. The door opened 2 inches before the security chain caught. A gloved hand appeared through the gap, holding a thin cutting tool. Eleanor swung the lamp. It struck the hand and the tool clattered onto the floor. The intruder shoved it hard. The chain pulled from one screw. Elena slammed her weight against the door and shouted. The attacker forced an arm inside and grabbed her sweater. Lucy flew from the bed with a howl and buried her claws in the gloved wrist. The attacker cursed. Elena drove the base of the lamp into his forearm. Footsteps thundered down the corridor. The intruder abandoned the door and ran. Dante appeared first, barefoot. With a pistol in one hand and his shirt hanging open over the fresh bandage at his side, 2 guards raced past him after the fleeing figure. Dante checked the corridor, then lowered his weapon. Elena, I'm fine. Her voice betrayed her. He did not get inside. Dante saw the broken chain, the torn sweater, and the red mark on her shoulder. Fury moved across his face so quickly that Elena stepped back. He holstered the pistol at once, as though afraid she might think the anger was directed at her. May I come in? He asked. The question steadied her more than any command could have. Eleanor nodded. Dante entered and closed the damaged door. Lucy stood on the bed with her back arched and tail twice its normal size. Your cat attacked him, Dante said. She believes in decisive action. I may offer her a position. He examined Elena's shoulder without touching it. You need ice. You need stitches that are not bleeding through. His bandage had turned dark along one edge. I tore one when I ran. Sit down before your doctor blames me. Dante obeyed, which surprised both of them. Elena retrieved the medical kit Sophia had left and knelt in front of him. This is going to hurt. It already does. Good. Then you won't be disappointed. She cleaned the small reopened section while he watched her with an unreadable expression. Why did you help me at the diner? He asked. You were injured. Most people would have called the police. The police were 20 minutes away in that weather. You hid me before you knew who I was. Elena secured the new dressing. My aunt used to say, character is what remains when there is no time to invent an excuse. She sounds wise. She lied to me my entire life. She also kept you alive. Elena sat back on her heels. I can be grateful and angry at the same time. Yes. Dante's answer carried more understanding than she expected. You can love someone and still judge what they did. Their eyes held for one quiet moment. The mansion, the conspiracy, and the armed guards beyond the wall seemed far away. Elena became aware of how close she was, of the warmth of his knee beside her hand, of the vulnerable line of his open shirt. Dante looked away first. The intruder knew the service key code. He said, "Only family and senior staff have it." Victor. He was under guard in the East Wing. Then he has help. Or someone wants us to think he does. A radio sounded in the corridor. Dante opened the door to receive the report. The intruder had escaped through a laundry stairwell, leaving a jacket and mask behind. Inside the jacket was a Moretti security badge assigned to a man who had died 3 months earlier. Elena listened as Dante issued instructions, calm and exact. When he finished, he turned back. "You cannot stay in this room." "Where do you suggest?" "My suite has an inner room with no corridor entrance." Elena folded her arms. "That sounds convenient." A hint of color touched his face. "My mother will stay there too." "That sounds less convenient." He almost smiled again. "You can lock both of us out if necessary." Elena considered the broken door. "Fine. But Lucy comes." I assumed she was in command. Dante carried Elena's bag while she carried Lucy. In the hall, she noticed him wince with each step. Without thinking, she took his free arm and placed it across her shoulders. "Do not make this romantic," she warned. "You are heavy and bleeding." His quiet laugh surprised her. It was the first sound he had made that belonged to an ordinary man rather than a boss. "Song, or target, I would not dare," he said. But the way he looked at her made the promise uncertain. "Be down." The storm had weakened to a grey drizzle. Elena slept less than an hour in the inner room of Dante's suite. With Lucy curled against her feet and Sophia resting on a chaise beyond the locked connecting door. When Elena emerged, she found Dante dressed in black trousers and a charcoal sweater, speaking with Luca over maps spread across a table. He looked pale, but steady. A fresh bandage showed at his collar when he moved. "You are not going to St. Agnes," he said, before Elena could speak. "Then neither are you. This concerns your safety." "It concerns my mother. The building may be a trap, which is why I am not letting your family search it without me." Luca studied the ceiling as if asking heaven not to involve him. Dante's jaw tightened. Elena expected an order. Instead, he looked at Sophia, who stood in the doorway with coffee. "Do not ask me to support you," Sophia said. "She is right. Everyone in this house has become very comfortable opposing me. Perhaps you needed practice hearing no," Elena replied. Dante stared at her, then exhaled. "You stay beside me. You wear body armor. If I tell you to move, you move. If there is immediate danger, yes, you negotiate every sentence. Only the unreasonable ones." Luca covered a laugh with a cough. They left through a private garage in 2 vehicles. Victor remained confined at the estate under Rosa's authority. Furious, but unable to challenge his mother without exposing himself further, Dante brought only Luca, a security captain named Grace Chen, and 2 trusted men. The old church stood among abandoned row houses near the river, its stone walls blackened by age. A weathered statue of an angel rose above the entrance. One hand broken, wings streaked with moss. St. Agnes had once served dock workers and immigrant families. Now, plywood covered the windows, and a chain hung from the doors. Grace cut it. Inside, dust softened every surface. Rain tapped through holes in the roof. The pews had been removed, but the altar remained beneath a faded blue ceiling. Elena's locket, returned to her by Dante for the search. He felt heavier against her chest. The note says, "Beneath the angel." Luca said, "There are at least 12 angels in here." Carved faces watched from pillars, stained glass, and cracked plaques. They searched in pairs. Elena noticed Dante never moved more than a few steps from her. She should have found it suffocating. Instead, after the intruder in her room, his presence felt like a wall between her and the dark. Near the former baptismal alcove, Elena found a small marble angel kneeling over a dry basin. Its base carried the same olive branch and crown as her locket. Dante. He came at once. The brass sliver fit a narrow opening behind the angel's wing. When Elena turned it, something clicked beneath the floor. A stone panel shifted beside the basin, revealing an iron box. Dante stopped her before she reached down. Grace inspected it for wires and traps, then lifted it onto the floor. Inside were 3 oilskin packets, a cassette tape, a ledger, and a sealed envelope bearing Elena's birth name, Elena Maria Vale. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The letter inside was dated 28 years earlier. "My dearest Elena, if you are reading this, then I failed to return before the danger found me. Nothing that happened was your fault. I discovered that Victor Moretti created the warehouse fire and moved family money to hire men loyal only to him. He planned to kill Alessandro after his father's death and blame rival families. I trusted Alessandro with part of the truth. But Victor altered my records and made me appear guilty. Gabriel helped us escape. Your Aunt Margaret will keep you safe. The locket contains the key to this box and the numbers needed to read the ledger. Trust Rosa if she still lives. Trust Sophia if she has learned to choose mercy over duty. Do not trust any man merely because he says he loves you. Love without courage is another kind of prison. I will try to bring the original documents to the authorities and return for you. If I cannot, I know that I loved you every hour of your life, including the hours I was not allowed to share." Elena could not continue. The page blurred. Dante stood beside her, not touching, waiting. She handed the letter to him and pressed one fist to her mouth. For 28 years she had imagined a mother who left, a mother who chose another life, a mother who had perhaps forgotten. The truth was worse and kinder. Maria had loved her and walked into danger hoping to give her a future. She planned to come back. Elena whispered, "Yes." Dante's voice was rough. She planned to come back. A sound came from the old choir loft. Grace spun toward it. The first shot struck the stone column beside her. Dante pulled Elena behind the baptismal wall as glass shattered above them. Luca and the guards returned fire toward the loft. "Rear exit," Dante ordered. "Now." Elena clutched the letter and locket while Dante pushed the iron box toward Grace. 2 masked men descended the side stairs. One threw a smoke canister into the nave. White clouds spread between the pillars. Dante moved through it with terrifying focus, firing only when a clear target appeared. Elena stayed low beside the wall until she heard a cry from the rear passage. One of Dante's men fell, struck in the shoulder. Grace dragged him behind cover. Luca shouted that more vehicles had arrived outside. They were surrounded. The Foundation records. Elena said, "Victor controls this building." He knew where we would go. Dante's eyes hardened. He also knew the box was here. The cassette player inside the iron box was old but intact. Luca crouched near them, saw Elena looking at it. "Not the moment," he said. The note said midnight. Elena replied, "Maybe it is not a time. Maybe it is a code." She opened the ledger. The numbered groups from the hidden paper matched entries, but several pages contained only names and dates. One name appeared repeatedly beside the word midnight, Victor. Another was listed beside Gate Emilio Rusk, Dante's security chief at the estate. Elena's breath caught. Rusk is Victor's man. Dante looked at the page. Rusk had supervised the lockdown, controlled the camera system, and assigned the guards watching Victor. Then Victor is no longer confined, Dante said. His phone rang. The screen showed the estate. He answered on speaker. Victor's voice came through, smooth and almost regretful. "You always were clever, Dante, just not early enough." Behind him, Rosa shouted something, followed by the sound of a struggle. Sophia's voice cried out. Dante's control cracked. "If you touch them, your mother and grandmother are alive. Keep them that way by bringing the box to the old river warehouse. Elena comes with you. No police. No extended family. No surprise. You attacked us here. A demonstration. The church was never the destination." "Why Elena?" Victor asked the question as though surprised. "Because Maria left one final account, protected by a phrase only her daughter can know." Elena stared at the letter. Victor continued, "The warehouse in 40 minutes. If you are late, Rosa dies first." The call ended. Luca swore. Grace shook her head. "It is a kill site. He has my mother," Dante said. "And mine may still be alive," Elena added. Everyone looked at her. She pointed to a line near the end of Maria's letter that had seemed like farewell until Victor's words changed it. "I will try to bring the original documents to the authorities and return for you. If I cannot..." Victor said he needs a phrase only Maria's daughter can know. He did not say Maria left it in writing. What if he never found her because he kept her somewhere? Dante's expression shifted. The payments in the ledger continue. Luca flipped through the coded columns. Using the number groups, they matched recurring transfers to a private care facility under a shell company. The most recent payment was 3 weeks old. "A patient has been kept for 28 years, Luca said. Elena gripped the stone edge to remain upright. "My mother may be alive." Dante looked toward the smoke-filled church and the men beyond it. "Then Victor has spent half his life keeping her alive because she knows where the final proof is. And now he thinks I can make her talk." Dante cupped Elena's face before he seemed to realize he was doing it. His palms were warm, his gaze fierce. "You are not going into that warehouse. Your family dies if I do not. Victor will kill us either way. Then we make him believe he controls the exchange until he exposes where she is. Elena, you said I saved a man, not a Mafia boss. Let that man listen to me now." The words stopped him. Elena lowered her voice. "I have spent my whole life serving people who barely saw me. I am not invisible anymore. I will not hide while Victor decides who in my family gets to live." Dante rested his forehead against hers for one brief second. The gesture held no demand. Only fear. "I cannot lose you." he said. The honesty struck deeper than any polished declaration. You barely know me. I know you ran toward an injured stranger. I know you argue when frightened and care for everyone before yourself. I know you make my mother smile, my cousin laugh, and my house feel less like a prison. I know that is already enough to fear losing. Elena's eyes burned. Then help me do this intelligently. Dante closed his eyes, then stepped back. The boss returned, but not the man who had issued commands without hearing her. We build 2 teams, he said. One goes to the warehouse. One finds the care facility. Victor believes he has isolated us. We use his own ledger to take apart his network before he realizes it. 40 minutes later, Dante entered the river warehouse carrying the iron box, while Elena walked beside him with Maria's letter hidden beneath her body armor. Victor waited under hanging industrial lights with Rusk and 6 armed men. Rosa and Sophia sat bound near the old loading doors. Frightened, but unharmed, Victor smiled when he saw Elena. Maria had your eyes. Where is she? Elena asked. His smile faded. Give me the phrase. Let them go first. Victor raised his pistol toward Rosa. Dante placed the box on the floor. You wanted the ledger. Take it. The ledger is only enough to destroy me. Maria's final account can destroy the judges, officials, and partners who helped this family become untouchable. Elena understood then. Victor had not protected Maria out of mercy. He had kept her alive because he needed the last key to a fortune and a list of powerful accomplices. My mother refused you for 28 years, Elena said. Why would I help? Because children repeat their parents' mistakes. Victor nodded to Rusk, who pressed a gun against Sophia's temple. Elena forced herself not to look away. The phrase is in the letter, she said. I need the locket. Victor motioned for her to approach. Dante's gaze warned her. But this was the opening they had planned. Elena stepped forward, removed the locket, and opened it. My mother wrote that love without courage is another kind of prison. Victor leaned closer. That is not the phrase. No, Elena said. It is the lesson you never learned. The warehouse lights went out. Grace's team cut power from outside while Luca triggered the fire doors. Separating Victor's men, Dante moved before the emergency lamps came on. He struck Rusk's arm, pulled Sophia clear, and drove him to the floor. Elena dropped behind a steel column as shots broke through the darkness. Rosa used her cane to sweep the legs from a guard who came too close. Then Sophia dragged her behind cover. Within seconds, Grace's team entered from both ends. Victor fled toward the river exit, but Elena saw him reach for a remote control. Dante. The box, she shouted. Dante kicked it away just before Victor pressed the switch. A charge beneath the loading platform exploded, throwing Victor against the railing. Dante reached him first and held him over the black water. Every wound Victor had inflicted seemed to gather in Dante's face. Do it, Victor gasped. Become your father. Dante's hand tightened, then released. Victor fell onto the platform rather than into the river. No, Dante said. You will live long enough to hear every person you betrayed testify. Sirens approached, using the ledger. Luca's second team had found the care facility and contacted federal investigators already building a case against Victor's network. Maria Vale was alive, sedated for years under a false name. She was weak but conscious when Elena reached the hospital that afternoon. Mother and daughter looked at each other across 28 stolen years. Maria lifted one trembling hand. My Elena took it and wept against her mother's fingers. I came back. Maria whispered. I know. Elena answered. You kept trying. Victor's records. Maria's testimony. And the documents from St. Agnes exposed the warehouse fire, the stolen funds, and the officials who had protected him. Rusk cooperated. Victor was denied bail. Months later, Rosa publicly cleared Maria's name, and the Moretti family paid restitution to every victim of the old scheme. Dante sold the businesses Victor had corrupted and placed the legal companies under independent oversight. He did not ask Elena to praise him for it. He simply did the work. Elena reopened the Harbor Light Diner with Maria's recipes added to the menu and a small apartment nearby where her mother could recover. Dante visited without an entourage whenever he could. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes to repair a shelf badly, and sometimes because Elena's presence reminded him that power did not have to sound like fear. One rainy evening, he stood beneath the diner, awning holding the silver locket. Now repaired. I once brought you home because I thought danger had followed you, he said. The truth is, you brought me home first. Elena smiled. That is almost romantic. May I try again? He did not offer a diamond or a promise made for an audience. He offered his hand. Come home with me. Elena, not as someone I rescued, not as someone who owes my family anything. Come because I love you, and because every door in that house should open from both sides. Elena looked through the window at Maria, laughing with Sofia, Rosa arguing with Luca, and Lucy asleep in Dante's coat. Then she placed the locket around her neck and took his hand. Only if you remember, she said. I still negotiate every unreasonable sentence. Dante kissed her beneath the rain. That, he said, is one of the reasons I am asking.